What's up, Queens? It's your host, Ro. Do you like female dating strategy? Would you like to see us expand on a lot of different platforms? Then please sign up for our Patreon. We are currently targeting a $10,000 per month goal, which would allow us to work full time on female dating strategy content in order to expand on different platforms and upgrade our media presence. As a special thank you to our current Patreon subscribers, we will be increasing our upload rate for our bonus content to be weekly on Fridays, as well as offering a special discount for paid annual memberships. So please check out our Patreon at patreon.com/the female dating strategy. That's patreon.com/the female dating strategy. Thank you. Let's start the show. What's up, Queens? Welcome to the Female Dating Strategy Podcast, the meanest female-only podcast on the internet. I'm your host, Ro.
And I'm Savannah.
And this is Lilith.
And today we're going to talk about managing a dating rotation, aka
Scrotation.
Scrotation.
So this is one of the more controversial ideas that we talk about on FDS, and it's controversial to both men and to women. For men, it's easy to understand because they think that if women are dating multiple men at once, then they assume that you must be sleeping with all of them. And then that leads into, patriarchal ideals about female sexuality and purity and so on. But with FDS, we tell people that you can have a dating rotation, and that doesn't mean that you're having sex with all of them, or any of them even. What is the purpose of a dating rotation? It's basically to not get too hung up on one guy, pretty much.
Yeah, not get hung up on one guy, and not to get into a place where you feel desperate and lonely, because then you will act out of a place of insecurity instead of a place of security.
Yeah, and a lot of women on the subreddit say that they don't want to do a dating rotation, that they agree with everything with FDS, but that's the one thing that they don't want to do. And we're going to address some of those FAQs, common complaints, in this episode. But I guess first of all, let's talk about what are some benefits of the dating rotation before we get into the objection handling.
I think for me, one of the biggest benefits is because I tend to get invested very quickly into relationships, and I think since I've started this rotational dating, I've been able to maintain a really good amount of distance from especially men. So for example, I'm not checking my phone for when they've if they've text me back in a reasonable time. Sometimes I can even forget to text them back occasionally. And it just gives you that perspective as well. I mean, when it's almost like a job interview, right? So because I've been involved in recruitment before, it's so much easier to see who the top candidate is compared against other candidates, because they'll do something that essentially sets them head and shoulders above the rest of them. So it's almost like that. And I just feel if you're only seeing the one person, like Ro touched on before, it's easy to get into that scarcity mindset, especially if we sort of agree that, high value man is rare. I mean, we say rare, but there's 7 billion people on the planet. There are a good number of them, even though they're rare at the same time. It stops you getting into that scarcity mindset as well. And also it's fun. It's fun. It's fun. I like the attention.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's fun.
If you're doing it right, it's fun. You have to be ruthless about your boundaries. And that's why we're so quick to say you need to cut people off, because the more you engage with low value men, the more it brings down your energy. And, part of the rotational dating benefit is that you start to flex that boundary muscle, right? Learning how to say no, learning when your energy is being imposed upon by some scroty type energy. Because sometimes you just know, right? You can feel when the energy shifts in a conversation and you're like, I'm not feeling this. And if you are doing it right, you start to know, okay, I need to end this conversation. I need to end this interaction either now or possibly permanently.
Yeah. And the other thing about a dating rotation, it makes it much easier to see red flags when they do occur.
Yes.
When you're only seeing one person at a time and you're feeling more invested in that person, it's too easy to look past red flags or rationalize them because you want to keep seeing that person because you don't have anyone else in your rotation. There's no one else on the bench. But when you have more than one guy in your rotation, you tend to, I don't want to say devalue men, but you don't idealize him. You're less likely to idealize him, and it makes it much easier to walk away at the first sign of disrespect.
Yeah, exactly. Like you'll take them off the pedestal.
And a lot of women say, oh, I can do all of these things while still dating one person at a time. Like, I just have to be careful about not idealizing them. I just have to do this and this and this and so on. And I almost I don't understand that because you can't just will yourself to having a different attitude. Like the way that you act when you're dating more than one person at a time and the way that you act when you only have one person in your roster, it literally does affect your attitude and your perception. I think it's unrealistic to say like I can just will myself to have a different perspective.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, you won't see your full buffet of options, right? If you're only dealing with one or two guys, you won't really know what's available out there. And there's certain things that, I experience with one man that I'm like, oh, okay, from now on, I need this in my relationship that I may not have known if I had just like been focused on one guy. You might have even known that there's guys that will do things that you might not, that you might like, but you've never explored your options fully. So you don't know it yet. It's, the purpose of rotational dating is also to just kind of understand what things you need, and every guy is going to bring something different to the table. Even low value men, they might have one or two areas where they kind of shine, but like they're just sucky overall, and that's how you get sucked in, right? It's not like they're all the way horrible. There's usually something about them that does attract you to them, but the drawbacks are too large. So I think if you start to understand, okay, what kinds of things do I actually like and what kinds of things are deal breakers, and I think FDS has done its best to try to create a map of what deal breakers should be, then you can really get closer and closer into understanding the type of guy that's going to make you happy.
Yeah, and another objection that's related to what you just said there, Ro, is I there's so few high value men out there, and I really struggle to meet even one guy who meets all of my standards, and so I don't think they cannot imagine the possibility of having more than one guy who meets their standards in their dating rotation. And I'm gonna be real with you. Like when you're doing a dating rotation, not all of them are going to be high value men. Even if they seem high value at first, you never know down the line they could turn out to be low value. And that's the point of vetting, of incorporating these guys in your dating rotation, is they're not all going to be perfect, but sometimes sometimes you got to get a bunch of quarters in order to get a dollar, right?
Yeah.
In order to have all of your needs met, you just got to get more than one guy. Like sometimes you'll have one guy who meets your need in one area, but you don't see him as husband material for whatever reason, but you enjoy spending time with him right here, right now. Why not like go on a few dates and have fun and do fun activities and try new restaurants and so on, right? Like,
yeah,
just because you don't see this person as your future husband doesn't mean that you can't enjoy each other's company right here, right now.
Right. And that's why your cutoff game has to be ruthless, because if you cease to have fun, don't go out with them. Don't waste your time. That drains you, right?
Exactly.
I can't tell you how many times I've wasted time and I'm like, why did I do this? Why did I drive across town? Why did I entertain this for much longer than I needed to? If you start to get fiercely protective of your time and energy, then it should be all happy fun times, right? It shouldn't be like a big drain and a big depressing thing to take on.
Exactly. Yeah. I think a lot of women imagine a dating rotation and they picture all of their bad past dating experiences and they think, what if I just had, instead of one guy treating me like shit, I have like 5 guys treating me like shit. The key is that you only include guys in your dating rotation if you enjoy your time with them. If they make you feel like shit, then
You cut them off.
you cut them off, like obviously. But yeah, like say there's a guy, like one guy I had in my dating rotation, he was a lot of fun, but he was one of those van lifer guys, right? So he didn't like have a house or anything. He lived in a van. But I gotta say, he was a really good travel buddy, and we did a lot of fun activities.
He lived in a van down by the river, like literally.
I mean, he didn't always park it by the river. But...
like Saturday Night Live, like.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I had him in my dating rotation, and we saw each other for a few months, and I knew right then and there, like, this guy is not husband material. Like, he's also just got that, like, nomadic lifestyle that's not a good fit for long-term relationship material, but you know what? Right here, right now, like it's summertime. It's fun. Like, why not? You go to the beach, you do different activities together. Why not? It's a pleasurable experience. Yeah. Sorry. um,
So your first point was the benefit, and then your second point was
yeah. So we talked about the benefits of rotational dating, and I did want to talk about some like I think I've already addressed some of the common objections, which is how do I manage dating rotation when most men are trash? Here's the thing though. Um, with rotational dating, men are always going to be on their best behavior in the first 3 months. And so, even if there's a possibility that he's not going to be as awesome as he was up front, like even if in the future he stopped being that much fun, I say, like, why not enjoy those first 3 months when the guy's on their best behavior, right? Like,
right.
even if he turns out to be low value later on,
um,
just exploit their desire to be on their best behavior in those first 3 months.
Yeah.
Because I see on the subreddit a lot women saying, oh, he could turn out to be low value in the future, so there's no point in seeing him. Or whenever we have a post in the handbook that's called Establishing Queen Energy from Day One. And that post was really a game changer for me and for my approach to dating. And a lot of people sort of almost like critique that post or that the idea behind that post, which is if you have to put on this whole front and act a certain way and do all this stuff in order to get a guy to treat you well, when he wouldn't be treating you well if you weren't doing these things, then you don't need a man like that in your life. And it's partially true in the sense that, yeah, you don't want to like marry and have kids with someone like that, where the guy is only good so long as you're putting on this like ruthless alpha bad bitch demeanor, right? So yeah, he's not husband material, but that's the sort of guy where if you establish queen energy from day one, he knows that he has to work hard to impress you. He's only going to do that for 3 months. So you may as well enjoy that first 3 months. And then as soon as he drops the act, that's when you move on.
Right. And then you thank him for the free dinners, and then he can go on to Reddit and rage about meeting a girl from Free Dinner Strategy. And
it's not even about the free dinners. It's just if the person,
I'm just kidding.
If he's on his best behavior, and because guys, when they're on their best behavior, guys can be a lot of fun to be around when they're on their best behavior, but not so much when they're not on their best behavior. So may as well enjoy his like desire to impress you. Why not? Oh yeah, I see that another. I just want to back up a little bit and explain like my sort of philosophy on like the impermanence of dating or the impermanence of relationships, which is that I see a lot of women saying things like, there's no point in dating men, like 99% of men are trash, he's just gonna leave, we're gonna get married, have kids together, he's just gonna leave me for his secretary half his age, and so on.
Yeah.
And while those fears are definitely well-founded and valid, I do just want to say that there is value in, I don't know, my personal opinion is like, even if that man might leave me 10 years from now, so long as your memories with them in the present, during those 10 years are good, then who cares if it's going to end one day? Like, I pretty much don't care if a relationship is going to end someday.
But all relationships end either through death or separation.
That's exactly it. All relationships end someday through, you're either going to break up or one of you is going to die. Like, all relationships end. And so I ask women out there to look inside of yourself and ask yourself, are my expectations of a forever relationship, is that serving me, right? I find too often women go into relationships looking for their soulmate, and if they can't find their soulmate, they think there's no point in dating at all. But it's like, who cares if the relationship ends 10 years from now if the time that you spend together right now is good? Then again, that brings us back to the current has to be good, right? You have to actually be enjoying your time with that person. And so if you're getting married and you don't actually like this person or you don't enjoy spending time with them, then yeah, like if you break up one day, it's going to suck that much harder because you wasted all this time for nothing, right?
Yeah.
You're not like booed up on with one guy and then feel like you invested all this time in a guy that didn't work out.
In my personal opinion, I don't really care if we're going to break up someday. I'm not really interested in having kids, so that's not really a factor for me. For me, I'm just really about enjoying my present with this person And the thing is, you have to actually enjoy your time with this person. That's why you have to cut them off at the first sign of disrespect. But you know what? Even if he leaves you in 10 years for, his secretary, who cares? If the time that you enjoyed with that person was good, who cares if they're gonna break up with you one day? Like, all relationships end one way or another, either through death or through separation. That's it.
So the next common question we get is, how do you find enough men to fill up your scrotation? Because like you said before, there's a lot of men who are low value, and there's a lot of men that are just like flat out a waste of time. How do you find enough men to fill up your scrotation? Where do you meet men?
This is where I'm going to mount a defense of online dating. I know online dating is a controversial topic on the subreddit. A lot of women swear off it, say, it's like low value. And, yes, the criticisms are valid. I think with online dating, the shit rises to the top. It's really easy to see all the low value men at the top, which is a blessing and a curse. But anyway, in terms of the rotational dating, I think online dating, because of the sheer number of men on there and the fact that women are the minority on these apps, if you are looking to practice, say, your dating skills, or to meet more men, then online dating is a godsend. Or even, for example, not even necessarily online dating, but online events such as, Meetup, for example, or something like that. But just getting online can be a godsend if you're looking to meet more men. I think people who dismiss online dating can sometimes forget that not every woman lives in a city or lives in a place where has hobbies where there are a lot of men. So online dating can be a really, really good way to connect. The only caveat I would say is, if you do meet a guy on an online dating app, is to do the pre-screening call before you meet, and to meet as soon as possible. So don't have a relationship on Tinder for 6 months. Like, don't be talking to him on Tinder for 6 months. Like, try and meet up, to do the pre-screen and to meet up as soon as possible. But this is where I think online dating can be a useful tool for women, just to come across more men. Ultimately, if we accept that finding a high value man is rare, then the more men we meet, the more likely we are to come across one. It doesn't make sense to me that the people who say, oh, high value men are so rare, but then they're dating one man a year. I was like, you'll never meet one. And the only way to meet a high value man is to put yourself out there. In the dating world. That's not to say that every man is going to be high value, but there is something to be said about numbers. Just the more men you meet, the more likely it is you'll come across one. It's just mathematics.
Yeah, I used to use online dating a lot more pre-FDS. I mean, because I joined FDS around the same time that the pandemic hit, and so I haven't really been that active with online dating. The people that I've been on dates with are people that I know from friends or from friends of family, just because I find it's easier to vet those people. That way I know that they're not like, you can get a sense, if I can hear from my friends and family if they're the sort of person who wears a mask, or if they're good about, trying to reduce their risk of getting coronavirus. Whereas with online dating, you have no idea what that person is like outside of that date, right? But yeah, online dating is not, I don't think it's the worst. A lot of people say, oh, it's a playground for predators and so on. I've met some pretty good guys on online dating in the past, actually. This is all pre-FDS, right? So my standards are different now. But the way that I managed online dating before FDS was, I'm almost embarrassed to tell this story because it's going to make me sound like a monster. But basically, I would set my location to Alberta, and then I would meet guys who worked in the oil fields. This is a very specific dating strategy that's very like Western Canada specific, so I don't think this will have broad appeal. But the reason why I did is because guys who work in the oil fields, they're young, but they also have money. And so if you want to date a guy who has money but isn't an old man, that's like a good option.
Yeah. I've heard of people doing that. There's people that put different zip codes in their Tinder so they can get a different
type of man. Yeah.
like radius of guys. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah, I would literally, like, because I used to travel a lot pre-FDS days as well. So I'll literally set like a different country, and the guys would be like so confused. They'll be like, "You're in the UK. Why have we matched?"
Yeah.
But it was great. Like, I suppose you can sort of almost manipulate, I guess, the sort of guys that come up in a way.
That's exactly it. Like, your if you're in a university city, you're more likely to meet guys who are like young and broke.
Exactly.
I lived in a university city, and I didn't really like the other guys that were in my age group or in my city, right? Now, here's the thing. When I floated this idea in the FTS Discord, a lot of women were horrified at this idea because they were like, a lot of these guys, they tend to be conservative, or they tend to not have the same educational background as me, or we don't see the same things like politically. They're, usually chauvinistic and so on. And while that is partially true, I have to say that my experiences dating, working class guys, a lot of them were conservative. They were generally pretty wholesome in general. In my personal experience, I can't speak to everyone, but these guys, they were so starved of female affection that they would have no qualms about driving like 16 hours to have a date with me. And I love that. Like, I love that. And so what would happen is they would basically drive through the night to have a date with me. And at the end of the night, and here's the other thing. A lot of women were concerned that, if he's driven that far, then he might try to pressure me for sex. And while that did happen, there were a few guys where after the date, they'd be like, "Oh, you're going to come back to my hotel room?" And I said, like, "No, it's like I had a great time, but, I don't want to have sex on the first date." Some of them did get sort of aggy with me, like, "Oh, I drove 16 hours and I spent all this money and you're just going to like make me waste it, blah, blah, blah." And see, here's the thing. That's when you say no and then leave. And then never to talk to that guy again, right? So if you are afraid of being pressured into having sex on the first date, just that's on you. That's a boundary setting issue. So yeah, but more often than not, surprisingly, the guys would just be like, "Oh, that's okay. I had a really great time. I hope I get to see you again." Like, they were so cute and so wholesome, right? Like, they were just so excited to see me.
Yeah.
They're just so excited to have a date with a woman.
Yeah, I mean, high value versus low value isn't really about income. It's really about their character. And that, I mean, as someone who's dated across income spectrums and education spectrums, who dated working class guys as well as like highly educated guys, it's really a crapshoot. And, there are pros and cons to dating either type, either you're type A white collar workers or, blue collar workers. So I don't think that's not unusual is what I'm saying. Like, I can co-sign that. I've experienced that as well.
Exactly. Yeah, like, there are some really great, decent guys who are working class. That doesn't mean they're poor, because these guys working on the oil fields, they were making like 6 figures. But they were just, they had a high school education and I was in university. And I actually found I had a good time. We would go out on dates and stuff, and some women are like, "Oh, we'd have nothing in common, we'd have nothing to talk about." You find things to talk about if you have good enough people skills, and especially if they have a good character and they already have that like baseline of respect and like decency. There's no reason why you can't enjoy one another's company, right? And also, I mean, I'm also low-key kind of like a redneck, even though I live in the city. So I mean, we'd like go out sometimes. Like, I dated one guy and we'd go out and like rip around on our dirt bikes and stuff, and so that was fun. Like, we did have some things in common, right? So this might not work for everyone, but it worked for me personally. And the reason why I liked this as a dating strategy is because they were only in town for like 1 or 2 weeks every month or every 6 weeks, and so that's how I managed to date like 6 guys at once, right? Like, you would just manage your time.
Work.
Yeah, exactly. I'd have like 6 long distance boyfriends, and they'd only be in town, like not all at the same time, obviously. But every week I had a different boyfriend, and they'd come down and we'd go on dates and they'd spend a bunch of money on me and we'd have an awesome time. And you know what? Like, they enjoyed it. They were having a good time. They weren't feeling hard done by. And I ended up, all of this came to an end when I ended up actually having a relationship with one of them. But he was only in town for like 2 weeks every 6 weeks. So he'd be like 2 weeks off, 6 weeks on. And he paid for an apartment for us to live in, for us to share. But it was mostly me just living there by myself most of the time, which I loved. And then when he was in town, he had somewhere to stay that was not a hostel and not his shitty parents' house. And we had a good time, right? So that's how I've managed a dating rotation in the past. That was a positive online dating experience because I would not have been able to meet these guys were it not for online dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a tool.
Exactly.
It's a tool in your arsenal. I wouldn't say, and I always, I've said on the Discord as well, I think a hybrid approach is the most optimal, if you can stand it. Because I know online dating can be really, it can be really difficult for women, especially if they've just been going through what's essentially the garbage. But I do think some online dating apps are better than others.
Yes, I was going to say that.
Like, I've mentioned Tinder, but Tinder, I would say, is probably the worst of the pack.
Yeah.
I've had success on other sites such as Hinge. Even before like I was FDS, I actually had good success on Reddit, of all places. Can you imagine?
What?
On Reddit, yeah. When I was like, I think must have been when I was about 18 and I just started using Reddit. I actually had decent success on Reddit. Yeah.
I had some good success on OkCupid. That seemed to be...
Yes, that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I met all of these guys I met on OkCupid, yeah.
But Tinder is just...
Because Tinder doesn't allow you to filter enough. Like, it's just whoever, right?
Yeah.
And I know they have their algorithm or whatever, but it doesn't make sense to me.
And it's just too many men just like looking for poly or clearly looking to cheat or just, yeah, it's just like blatantly...
Plus, I like OkCupid's questions because then that helps to get to know their attitude a lot better.
Yes.
Whereas, like Tinder, you can literally leave everything blank, right? That just tells you nothing. It's just such a waste of time. Yeah. So I guess we are saying maybe drop Tinder.
Yeah.
Fuck Tinder.
Yeah, Tinder, I would swerve it. Yeah.
Guys on Tinder have to seem to have this attitude like, if you're on Tinder, that means you have to fuck me on the first date.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's their sort of attitude. Whereas on OkCupid, it's not a given that that it's a hookup app. Like, people are using that with the understanding that they're looking, or at least some guys will use it to try to hook up, but at least you have the, legitimacy to be like, no, I'm looking for a relationship. They can't just be like, well, why are you on Tinder, right?
Well, Tinder was the first, not the best.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so we talked about finding your scrotation online, but what about real life? So I would say for me, I'm a person that, like, obviously the pandemic kind of clipped my wings on this, but I actually do like to go out and be social. I would do a lot of like local social events, and I'm a pretty like outgoing extroverted person. So I don't know if this would be the best strategy for people who are more introverted, but for people who are people and like to go out and talk to people, I have found like going to events where there's likely to be a lot of men of like, if you're trying to date by either social class, obviously like paid events are going to be a way to weed out guys that are maybe not doing as well financially. I don't even know if I want to say it that way.
No, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I also found like when I was a student, like public lectures were quite a good place to meet people and men as well.
Yeah, they still do. There's actually quite a few. There's like a lot of people that do these live talks, and they're usually from different authors that have a book out. You can go to those type of events and you'll find people that have a similar interest in any particular author or artist or whatever that you are interested in. Book tours are pretty good. Festivals, gaming nights. I tried to do some of the meetup like dating stuff, and it's always full of weirdos. Have you ever done meetup?
No.
I don't know if that's a US thing. So there's a like a social meeting app called meetup.com. I found Meetup to be like not bad dudes, but just like very socially awkward guys. So I probably would skip that if you're looking to meet people in real life. But they used to have like these like meetups for singles or bar crawls and everything, and I didn't particularly like those. But there's also like sports leagues, like amateur sports leagues. Like there's soccer, beach volleyball, And don't worry if you're not that good at athletics. Like there's always like the people that shine, but there's a ton of other people that just come to drink afterwards. So I think it's just a matter of getting out there, getting active, being active in your community, and like practicing your flirting tips, right? So I know we should do another episode about like flirting specifically, but I think, practicing your people skills, learning to bridge conversations, if you can find these different niche areas to meet guys, then you can build your scrotation that way.
I've met a couple guys at the gym, actually.
Yeah, I have as well.
Here's the thing, though, is like meeting men at the gym can be fraught with awkwardness. And I don't like the guys that just like come up and hit on like every girl. What I've done, I've only met two guys at the gym, and in both cases, it's because I go to the gym at the same time every single day. And so I tend to see the same other people because they also go at the same time every day. And so if I see the same guy, we tend to like, if I like him, we'll kind of like look at each other, make eye contact. Maybe I'll like go over there and, oh, how many sets do you have left? Like, oh, okay. Like, that kind of thing. Eventually, we get to talking and they ask about my program and I talk about it and they ask about them and so on. And so it's back and forth. And then we exchange numbers, like, right? So it's about like the repeated, you don't want to just cold approach, right? Like you want to have it be someone you see regularly. And then if you kind of look at each other and there's some maybe mutual attraction there, then you go for it, kind of thing. But I would never respond to a guy who was just cold approaching every girl at the gym.
Yeah, those guys are creepy. But yeah, if you build familiarity if you go to the same spots all the time.
If you go to the same gym at the same time every day, because you usually meet other people who are also like that. And that's how you make friends, is just repeat interactions.
Another underrated place, car shows and sneakerheads.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Car shows, you can meet guys. A lot of those guys, you'll meet guys all over the spectrum. There's single guys as well as like, families. But, and I actually like cars. So I like to go there. If you're into any type of like alternative sports like X Games.
Yeah.
That's also a really great place to meet guys.
Another good place, and I think a place that will likely increase your chances of coming across a high value man. It's not a guarantee, but it's through volunteering.
Yeah, that too.
Especially for something like a social justice cause or like a listening like volunteer service. I found at uni it tended to attract people who genuinely cared and who would work really, really hard. Because you're volunteers, you're not paid, so there's no incentive to actually do a lot, but
for the intrinsic value, of doing it.
Yeah, exactly. But like the guys who worked really, really hard, and really, really cared about their cause, they were always high value men.
With that, there's a lot of charity runs.
Yes.
Like 5Ks and marathons. If you're lucky, they'll also be athletic types, so they'll be running for a charity, and so you can meet up doing one of the training sessions if you want to run for one of the all the charities usually have some kind of sponsor team. You can sign up to train with their sponsor team, and you can meet guys who are, I'm running for the American Red Cross, and during training you'll make friends that way.
Definitely. I that is a good strategy, and I've met guys volunteering for the SPCA and stuff. Like, I don't know if any of you've ever like fostered dogs, but you can meet people from volunteering for animal shelters. However, I will say, beware of the like self-righteous, like liberal virtue signaling guy.
Yeah.
Because those guys do tend to also get drawn to these causes, and they will actually go to these causes specifically to like pick up women, right? A lot of them are like, they're like basically like soft boys, right? Like fuck boys, but they appeal to your emotions instead of your body. So yeah, you can meet high value men there, but also be aware of that specific type of guy who's pretending to be high value.
The smug, porn sick soft boy, like you said, yeah.
Smug, porn sick, liberal, virtue signaling soft boy.
And on the flip side of that, there's also like the uber conservative guys. So you'll find those a lot of times at like the Christian charities. So if you do a Christian charity run, be careful of those guys, because those are the guys that are like, oh, those poor backwards brown countries don't know what they're doing in life, And they have this very condescending attitude towards people who are like different. It's like benevolent racism and benevolent sexism, and it can be kind of icky to be around.
Yes.
Benevolent racism. Oh man, I could rant for hours about those like charity, like mission mission trips and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's a topic for another video or another podcast. But yeah, anyways.
So now that we talked about where to find your scrotation, let's talk about some techniques to screen out all the bad guys, since we're on the subject.
I mean, the thing is once you've browsed FDS enough, you'll know what are the bad things to look for. It's just a matter of having the being committed to the idea of letting go and just cutting them loose as soon as you notice a red flag. Having the guts to follow through on...
Having the labia to follow through on your actions.
Having the labia. Big ovary energy, yeah.
Big ovary energy.
You gotta, you just gotta do it, sis. I know it sucks, and sometimes you meet a guy, and I know that feeling. You meet a guy, and he ticks all of your boxes, and he's 99% perfect, but then there's just that one thing about him that's just slightly off, and it's going on, in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, I don't know, but then you're rationalizing it. Don't fucking rationalize it.
It doesn't get better.
Yeah, if your gut is telling you no, it won't get better. If anything, it'll get worse.
It doesn't get better. It doesn't get better. I've seen it's happened to myself, to my friends, where they have that one almost Achilles heel in the beginning. Oh, isn't that bad? They tell themselves, or I've told myself, and it gets worse. People don't tend to improve in relationships over time, especially men.
Yeah.
You sort of have to set that standard at the beginning and learn to trust your intuition.
And it's tough because women are socialized to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yes, even when they don't deserve it or haven't earned it.
Yeah, and be forgiving and so on. And so don't do that. You really have to. And that's actually another benefit of the scrotation is multi-dating, I find, has helped me undo a lot of that socialization. When you get in the habit of saying no to guys, it's like a muscle, right? The more you do it, the easier it becomes. But if you're not used to saying no to men, or if you're not used to cutting men off, the first time you have to do it, it's going to be harder. But the more you do it, the easier it gets.
The way no just flies out of my fucking mouth now.
Yeah. I don't even think about it.
It just chucks itself across my lips. That's how good I am at this point.
Yeah, the first few times I struggled with the whole, dropping a guy at the first sign of disrespect, because I used to be the sort of person who wanted to rationalize all of a guy's imperfections. And I would be like, well, I'm not perfect either, and so blah, 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 I should give him a chance. And so it's tough the first few times, but the more you do it, the easier it gets. And now it's just, I don't even think about it. I don't even feel bad. You just go for it.
And another thing, too, with the pre-screening is you can do a lot of the work, at least for the guys you meet online, by doing the pre-screen. That's in the FDS handbook, where you talk to them on the phone and do some kind of FaceTime, either Skype or, iPhone FaceTime, Google Chats, whatever, to get an idea of there's certain things that don't translate well through text that you'll pick up from talking to them face to face. So by talking to them on FaceTime, you can start to notice their mannerisms. You can make sure they look like their picture, look at any tells that might indicate that they're lying, or if if they can't even be bothered to make sure their background doesn't look disgusting when they FaceTime you.
True. That's actually so true. You can tell more from their background, almost. Not more, but you can tell a lot just from their background.
Yeah. It's been interesting to watch some of these journalists. This is kind of a side note, but if you've been watching journalists do a lot of their shows from home, some of them don't bother to clean up their backgrounds, and it's just aren't you embarrassed right now?
Embarrassed?
I can see your laundry.
Embarrassing.
Very embarrassing.
Is that a regional accent? What is that from?
Oh, it's a meme.
Oh, yeah.
I heard it from
that one TikTok?
Oh, I think I know the one you're talking about. She's a British girl called I think it was Nella Rose, and she was like, are you not embarrassed? Embarrassing. Yeah, she's British.
Yeah.
As an aside.
Yeah, but also, so yeah, you can do all that, but also you'll start to see, okay, is there a spark here? Is there a vibe? Is this person boring? Is this person distracted? And then after that, you can decide if you want to go on a full date. And also you can set your boundary, which is I expect to be taken on a date. We already did our little coffee chat, quote unquote, meetup by doing the Skype thing. So there's no reason to, try to cheap out on the next time we meet in person.
And I'd also say the pre-vetting call, don't make it too long. Like, don't spend 2-3 hours talking to them.
Yes.
Just like schedule it in, because I always like to say, like, from a work standpoint, always keep like meetings as short as possible, because people tend to default to 1 hour.
Oh, yes.
But more often than not, you don't need, it's not going to take an hour. So 30 minutes, like max, you should be able to get a feel of them. And that's that. But don't spend ages talking to them. Because some men, they'll then see that as the date. And then when you ask them, or when you expect them, sorry, not even ask them, to take you out somewhere nicer, they'll just keep, like lowballing you as well.
Deflecting.
A lot of guys do that on purpose to create false intimacy.
Yes.
And so I've talked to so many of my girlfriends where they're saying like, oh my God, I talked to this guy for like 4 hours until like 2 a.m. And I'm like,
don't do that. Don't do that.
First of all, like, don't stay up past your bedtime. If you normally go to bed at 10 and you talk to a guy at 9:30 and 10 o'clock rolls around, you go, hey, I work tomorrow. I gotta hang up. And if he acts like a little bitch about it, next him. Anyways, most of the time, if he's a good man, he'll respect that.
Exactly. So that's your first boundary setting, right?
Yeah, it's a matter of boundary setting.
That's the first time you set a boundary. Watch how he reacts.
Exactly.
So that goes to our next point that I think Savannah already touched on, is that some people don't like rotational dating because they're like, oh, it's so much time. I'm busy. I have a busy schedule. Again, if you're ruthless with your time and energy, you should be able to pencil it in. And by keeping your dates short, especially your screening dates really, really short, you can really get in. I don't know, 5-6 guys a week if you want to.
100%. So what I currently do at the moment is Outlook calendar or Gmail calendar. They get 2 hours max a week. The ones I like more get longer. The ones I like less get shorter. And that's how I play it. So, and on different days as well. It's not like 2 hours in one go, but an hour maybe Tuesday, an hour like Wednesday. Yeah, that's how you can play it. It doesn't have to be, I think when people think of rotational dating, that you have to be spending your entire evenings with men. Don't do that. You can schedule, a date can still be high effort without it taking the whole evening. And I think that also makes you more, it makes them value your time more if they know that you don't have time for them all the time as well. They come correct. Like the guy who gets the most time, he's never been late, for example. If I say 12 p.m. and we're in different time zones as well, he's an hour ahead. But if I say 12 p.m. UK time, because it's on my time, he's there literally at 12 p.m. He's literally never been a minute late. And if he is running late, he'll say, I'm going to be 10 minutes late, like 30 minutes before. So they respect your time more as well if you play it that way.
Yeah, and that's why the coffee date thing is such a scam too, because especially when it's wintertime, like I don't want to drive across town.
Yeah, fuck that.
Think about like having to dig your car out and then of the snow and then drive across town to have coffee with somebody. Like I'm not doing that shit.
And I don't even drink coffee as well. So this is why coffee dates and drink dates, I don't drink and I don't drink coffee.
Right. So having the pre-screen Skype date allows you to like sit in the comfort of your own home, cut them off when you're realizing the date's not going anywhere, and only leave your house for when a guy has demonstrated that he can, one, show you a good time, plan a fun date, and also that he's interesting enough and engaging enough for you to want to spend an evening with him.
Yes, exactly.
The other thing about a pre-vetting call is that it sets the standards for how you expect to be treated. I think I mentioned, establishing queen energy from day one. Day one is the vetting call.
Facts. So on to our next subject. So let's say you do meet a decent handful of guys and you start dating them, meaning like going out regularly on dates. How do you de-escalate the situation if they're trying to monopolize more of your time or trying to push for sex?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it's one of those things that's going to depend on... It's sort of hard to describe when you're not in the situation. When you're in the situation, it really depends on like first of all, how pushy is he being? If he's being very pushy, like very disrespectful, that's when you just walk out. You don't even care about trying to be polite. You just say like, there have been times actually where if a guy was being really inappropriate, I just ask him to pull over and I just leave. I'll just like, oh, could you just pull over here real quick? Oh yeah, okay. Just like open the door, walk away, get a taxi home.
Yeah.
Don't let that guy know where you live, definitely. But in the moment, I don't know. There's a certain way of communicating where you just say like, oh, at first you'll try to be like indirect, like, oh, not tonight, or I had a great time, looking forward to seeing you again, something like that. And if he's a decent man, he'll usually get the message. Like you won't have to say directly, like, I don't fuck on the first date or second date or third date or whatever. A lot of times the guy will just respect that. But if he's not respecting that, like, then that's when you know to move on.
Like, how I've played this in the past that I think has been work is I just like straight up tell them I like to take things slow and I like a slow escalation. So it kind of sets expectations in the beginning because at some point they'll try to steer the conversation towards sex. Like if you're starting to hang out a lot, you start to ramp up the flirting and you start to ramp up like maybe the touching, and then I just kind of tell them, I date a lot on here and I don't know you that well. So I like to make sure that, when I have sex with someone, it means something, like it means something to me. So I like to make out, or I'll just tell them like, I just like to take things slow. I just want to kiss, or I just want to see how you kiss or something like that. Like something playful, but also like sets a boundary of what I'm willing to do. Yeah. And if they're a pushy asshole, then they just go. Guys who are pushy for sex and not giving you your boundary, that's a red flag. And that's when you cut those guys off. Because they're probably not even going to be good in bed. They're honestly going to be shitty in bed.
Yeah, that's so true. The guys who are the most pushy for sex are usually the worst.
Garbage in sex.
100%. 100%. Facts.
They got to strong arm women into it because they know that like there's no repeat customers.
There's no repeat customers. It's one and done.
No.
That's why they go for the high pressure sales tactics. It's like the same way that a pyramid scheme or a scam works, right? They do the high pressure sales tactics. They want to close the first conversation they have with you because they know that they don't have any repeat customers.
Their dick is dry as the Sahara.
Yeah, it is really just a matter of like having boundaries and sticking to it. And if a guy isn't respecting your boundaries, that's when you walk. It's really simple. Like you'll know in the moment. And that's why we say, like, a lot of women will say like, oh, but what if I don't know in the moment? Or what if I've been in this situation and I've succumbed to the pressure and so on. Like, the more practice you get saying no, the easier it gets.
Yeah, and there's different techniques. I mean, there's the in the moment technique, but there's also like if you're on the phone and you're flirting, or you're at dinner and you're flirting, like you can tell them prior to you being in the car alone or wherever you are going to be alone, or if you go to his house, which we'll touch on house dates in the next segment, but it's good to bridge that conversation in a place that's more neutral. So, if you're starting to turn up the heat because you like this guy and you want to make it sexual, but just not necessarily right away, then you can be sexy with him, but just state your boundary while you're being sexy with him.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you're stating boundaries, it doesn't have to be like this serious, like, dour thing, right? You don't have to be like angrily stating your boundaries, right? There's a certain way of communicating it where it's like playful and still sexy. And that's what I meant earlier when I said like being kind of indirect. Like you don't want to just be like, I don't know. If you are too direct, it'll just come across like socially awkward. There's a certain way, and it depends on the guy and on the situation, but there's a certain way of, try to be witty with it, You
gotta have both in your tool set because some guys do need that, and those guys are low value men. Some guys you gotta straight up be like, I don't want to be touched. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's what I mean. Like if they don't get the indirect, that's when, or if they're just like bulldozing past your polite attempts, that's when like, okay, fuck this guy, and then you move on, right? But if he's a good man, he'll usually get it when you're being playful about it.
Yeah.
If you're being flirty and setting a boundary, a lot of shitty guys will take that as an invitation to test your boundaries and push. This is what I'm saying. Like,
yeah, cut him off.
Like if you are playful about setting a boundary and the guy pushes you, that's how you know that he doesn't respect boundaries. Like he will see that as a signal to try harder.
Yeah, there we go.
Whereas if you're playful and friendly about it, in my personal experience at least, like the truly good men will take that at face value and then be like, okay, and like maybe next time kind of thing, right?
Exactly. So if he doesn't respect your boundary, or if he tries to push more when you're being playful, that is an immediate red flag. And that is, first of all, I guarantee you that sex will be trash. Like I can almost bet you, like, those guys who are pushy, the sex is gonna be trash. So that is a deal breaker. That's one of our red flags, I think, on the handbook, that guys who are pushy for sex, like, even when you're setting a soft boundary, especially if you're setting a hard, if you set a hard boundary, he's a fucking rapist, like, run. But a soft boundary,
He may not be a full-on rapist, but he could be like a coercive rapist, you know, like where he'll just badger a woman into sex and then she just gives in, kind of thing, because
and that's the energy he's going to take into sex for the rest of your relationship, and that, like,
and that's going to be a nightmare life.
ugh, that, like, weird badgering, like, because it's not seductive either, right? Because think about that, like, is he trying to seduce you? Is he just trying to, like, attack you? It's just so, it makes me feel like a cornered rat when men do stuff like that. It doesn't make me feel like sexually attracted to them. It makes me feel threatened.
Yeah, it immediately sets me in fight or flight mode.
Yeah, exactly.
It kills the mood when a guy's being pushy. You know, you go from like fun, flirty, sexy to like, oh god, am I gonna get like fucking sexually assaulted right now? Right? Like, you immediately kills the mood. So yeah, move on from guys like that for sure.
And with that, sometimes we get some confusion about multi-dating, where some women think that if you're dating multiple guys, you have to be sleeping with multiple guys. And friends with benefits is quite a bit different from multi-dating.
Yeah, definitely. The difference between friends with benefits and multi-dating is, first of all, friends with benefits is, it's almost more emphasis on the benefits and not the friends. Whereas with casual dating, it's almost like you're actually getting to know the person, not necessarily as a friend, but like as a sexy friend. I don't know. How do you describe it? It's like you actually want to spend time with that person because of that person, as opposed to friends with benefits, you're just a free hooker, pretty much.
Free low-cost discount rack prostitute.
Yeah.
Free prostitute FP.
And this is not to drag any, like, this is not to drag, like, any woman that's ever been a friend with benefits, but that's just the way that men treat it, right?
Yeah, like when guys approach friends with benefits, they think basically are treating you like a masturbatory tool. That's exactly it. Like the men, friends with benefits, a lot of times the guy doesn't even care about your pleasure. I mean, I wouldn't know, but from what I've heard about other women talking about friends with benefits, like it sounds like he usually doesn't. He's coming there to for his nut and doesn't really care about you that much. Whereas with casual dating, you are actually getting to know one another as people, and at least in theory, if you're doing it right, should get to know and actually care about one another as a person and care about the other person's pleasure when you do eventually have sex.
Yeah, exactly. I think, and the other thing too is, like, we can do a whole other episode on friends with benefits and why it's a bad idea, but, you know, in order for you to stay emotionally detached from a guy you have sex with, there's got to be something you don't like about him, probably low value behaviors, right? Like, so having a man around who's not adding to your life in a material way. I mean, it's like dick is, first of all, dick is abundant and low value. Vibrators are also very effective. It's almost hard for me to believe that the value of having a friends with benefits in your life versus, like, what we propose as a multi-dating strategy, that the friends with benefits would actually take away from your multi-dating strategy, because you would be spending too much time investing even in that low investment relationship.
That's the thing, and you still bear all the risks, the physical risks associated to it. For example, STIs, pregnancy, and all that for somebody who has to sort of be low value, because you wouldn't want to be friends with benefits with a man who's high value. You'd want him to be your boyfriend. So you have to you have to settle for somebody, and again, the risk of orgasms, or the risk of, not having an orgasm, is exponentially high. Because even guys have said, like, they won't, like, for example, on like Reddit and stuff, they'll say, I don't go down on a girl unless she's my girlfriend, but of course they'll expect blowjobs from their friends with benefits. But anyway, that's an aside.
Yeah, it seems almost like friends with benefits seems to be something that women will settle for when they want that guy to be their boyfriend, but the guy is like a commitment phobe or something. And so, yeah, I don't get that. It just sounds like a recipe for heartbreak, you know? And so if you are casual dating, on the other hand, you're meeting and this person, the energy is different. When you're casual dating the other person, it's like they're trying to prove themselves. It's like they want you to commit to them. They want you to like them. They're putting effort into impressing you. With friends with benefits, they're not putting effort into impressing you. They're just there to get their dick wet. Like they're just pulling up. I don't know. Another thing, I've heard some people do friends with benefits like with an ex. Like, is that a thing where, you break up but you still want to fuck them sometimes?
Yeah, I've been guilty of that, like prolonging relationships just out of like habit after you break up. And sometimes it's just because I like need shit. Like I know I've asked an ex to help me move, and we're still like having sex during that time. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's the other benefit of a dating rotation is I some guys, if I know that they're not husband material, I put them in the manual labor category. And so if I ever need like help with landscaping or with moving and stuff like that, more often than not, they'll like pull up and be like, "Yes, I get to like prove I'm a big, strong, manly man, pick up heavy things," that kind of shit. And they'll ego lift my moving boxes. I don't know.
Now I hear you.
They're still useful to me.
That's adding some value. So win-win.
Yeah, they're adding value. They might not be husband material, but they're adding value to my life, so that's why I keep them around. I don't know. The more I talk about multi-dating, more I sound like a monster.
No, why?
I don't know.
No, you don't.
People are going to listen to this and think I'm a sociopath.
I mean, to me, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, that's the benefit of doing this strategy. Like, I don't particularly care that men are mad about that.
Yeah, like you have one guy who does manual labor, one guy who takes you to cool restaurants, one guy you do adventure stuff with, one guy who does manual labor for you. Like, there's a different guy for each function in your life, right? Like,
Yep.
that's how I approach casual dating. Oh, another thing is like with casual dating, we say on FDS the man has to be marriage minded. And the reason for that is if the guy is approaching casual dating in a casual way, the woman almost always is going to be left unsatisfied because he's just going to put in less effort. The man needs to be marriage minded, even if you as the woman are not marriage minded. Like, I'm not marriage minded. I'm not in a rush to get married and have kids. I'm not really into the whole idea of having kids. But dating guys where they want to get married and have kids tends to be a much more beneficial relationship to me.
Yeah, because I mean, they're working on their relationship skills, right? That's the guy who's actually worked on how to relate to women versus just the other guys who, again, see online dating as a catalog of free prostitutes.
That's exactly it. Like guys who approach dating in a casual way, that's exactly it. They see women as a catalog of free prostitutes. Guys who approach dating where they're looking for a relationship, they are going to put more effort into trying to impress you.
All right, so let's say you start to zero in on one guy or one or two guys that you're liking, you've been hanging out for a while, things are starting to escalate to a more sexual level, and you want to do a house date. We don't recommend doing any house dates before you've really gotten to the place where you're seriously considering having sex with this guy, because once you do a house date, they're gonna they'll start pressuring for all your interactions to be house dates, because they'll start to kind of turn up the at least the crappy guys will turn up the sexual escalation to 11 and start pressuring you to do the Netflix and chill. And then when you're in his house, that's when you start to get the real psycho energy come out. Like, I don't know if you guys saw that TikTok that was posted to FDS a while ago about this guy who was literally screaming at the girl in the background, like, why did you come over here if you didn't want to have sex? You know, you'll have to deal with that kind of psychotic energy if you haven't done all the steps that we recommended before. So let's say you are ready to go to his house, maybe not have sex yet. And actually, we recommend not having sex the first time you visit his house, because what are you doing on that first time?
Judging him.
Checking out. Yeah, vetting him, making sure he doesn't live like a fucking slob.
And you also want to make sure that he's not like a mattress surfer as well. You don't want a mattress surfer. Get a guy with a bed frame.
I'm really sad that this is a thing that we have to state. I'm actually kind of depressed because, like, why do we have to tell them that you need a bed frame?
So let me explain actually for people listening. It's because mattresses collect a lot of moisture, so you need a bed frame to allow for air circulation. If you have your mattress directly on the floor, it'll collect mold and mildew. And me, because I have asthma, so I'm actually very sensitive to these things. That's why I need to have a bed frame that's pretty high off the ground and like with fans and stuff to allow air circulation. I'm very sensitive to mold. So yeah, that's why I don't fuck guys who don't have bed frames.
A considerate man would never make you fuck on a bed without a bed frame.
No.
And that shit's gonna move, right? Like, that's the other thing.
It's gonna slide around on the floor.
Like, he's gonna have his bed frame moving across the hardwood floor. Yeah, what the kind of, like, low rent?
Yeah, you're a queen, not a trafficked Romanian hooker, okay?
Oh, God, yeah.
I've actually only ever had sex once. I've only ever had sex once on a mattress on the floor, and that's what it felt like. Is I felt like a cheap hooker.
And you want to know my clown shit story? I didn't have sex on a mattress, but like he had a bed and everything, but he literally bragged to me. He was like, I really want to downsize my apartment. And I was like, why? And he was like, well, I just feel like I could get rid of some of my stuff and save space. And then he was talking about taking his bed frame out. And I'm like, if I had come over and you didn't have a bed frame, I wouldn't have hooked up with you. He's like, I bet I could have convinced a lot of women to have sex on the floor, on the bed, on a bed frameless bed, on a frameless bed. And I should have seen that right there as like testing my boundaries. And like this guy was like, even though he had a bed frame, he was mentally still a frameless man.
He was mentally a frameless man.
Frameless man.
Like he was mentally frameless. So that's a red flag. Some of these guys out here have bed frames, but like inside they're mentally and their minds and hearts frameless.
You're mentally frameless. That's a thing.
Yeah.
That's a thing now. Okay.
So that was a red flag. That was a red flag that I ignored in a relationship that I eventually ended.
I would literally rather fuck in the forest than fuck on a mattress on the floor.
Yeah.
I'd rather have forest sex than that.
Yeah, same.
At least you see the night sky.
Yeah. I'd rather have sex in a tent while camping than on a mattress on the floor. It's just a totally different thing.
Any man that would even ask that of you is low value. Even if he has a bed frame. If he even gets an attitude about you, like saying, I would never fuck on a frameless bed, dump his ass. Trust me. I know this from experience.
Remember a while back, there was a bunch of guys posting pictures of their bed frames, and they were like, well, at least now I can date someone from FDS. Like, it's become a meme where I only fuck guys with bed frames.
And wash your pillows.
And the guys have internalized that, and they're like, oh shit. Suddenly,
why do we have to tell you these things?
imagine after this episode gets posted, like, sales of bed frames go shoot through the roof.
I swear to God, if you sell bed frames and you want to advertise on our show, we will read your shit. Let us know.
Who knows though? Maybe we'll get, like, I don't know, a sponsorship from like a bed company.
I'm gonna send an email to Helix Mattresses and be like, yeah, I've got an episode for you.
Shaming men into basic household care.
Basically, you go to a guy's house to judge him, to see how does he live, because a man's home is a reflection of his soul. If it's messy, if it's dirty, his soul is messy and dirty. And the other thing is, it will be the cleanest it will ever be on the first date. If you go there and it's dirty, it's not like he's going to suddenly start giving a shit after you've been dating him a while. Like, it's never going to get better than that. So, and here's another thing. Check the toilet. See, if he really, really cares about you, he will wipe the dust and stuff around the bottom of the toilet. If he doesn't do that, he doesn't care about you.
And there won't be any skid marks.
Yeah, there won't be any freaking brown skid marks on the toilet seat.
And there'll be extra toilet paper rolls, and there'll be a little trash can for you to throw out your tampons.
Yeah, if he cares about you, he'll do these things. And here's the thing, like, Gail Dines mentioned, you got to find a guy that's, mostly good, and then you got to sort of train him up. If he doesn't currently have a trash can, and you ask him to get a trash can, and if he does it, that's a good sign. But if you want a trash can and he makes a big fuss out of it, that's a deal breaker. Swipe left.
I mean, again, in college, I don't know how these guys make it to adulthood and like don't know that women have periods, or maybe they just don't have sisters and they've never been around women that had periods. But like, I had a guy make a big deal that I left a pad like rolled up in the bottom of his trash can in the bathroom. And he was like, well, I put my shaving in there. And I'm like, okay, it's trash, right? So take the bag out and then like throw the whole thing in the dumpster. But they were like really, really upset that like when I guess his roommate, like this is back in college, when his roommate like took out the trash, he could see the pad at like the bottom of the trash bag, and it was a clear trash bag. I'm like, okay, so just throw it out. Like, what are you freaking out about? I don't know.
Yeah, that's low maturity. Like, if a guy gets grossed out by periods and stuff, like, imagine what it's going to be like to be in a relationship with him. Like, once a month, every week, like, for one full week every month, he's just going to be like, ew, like, and grossed out by you. Like, no, that's not long-term relationship material.
Right.
And so, to cap off this episode, a final, I guess, point in favour of of multi-dating is the concept of you're single until you're married. This is a concept that is spoken about on the subreddit, but essentially it centers around the idea that if a man, really wants to make you exclusive to only him, like, he should marry you, because that is like the highest form of commitment. And whether you believe in, marriage, from a religious standpoint or not, that is a fair argument, because like marriage gives you all sorts of legal protections that cohabiting doesn't. But anyway, this has been, and actually my aunt, like story time, she actually had 3 boyfriends for several years. And they all knew about each other. So she multi-dated quite intimately for several years. And she used to tell me to, always have. I remember when she told me actually the first time, I looked at her like she was crazy, because I was like, how can you have all that time for 3 boyfriends? But she did anyway, and she was only sleeping with one of them as well. And that was the one that eventually came to be her husband. But yeah, she multi-dated until she got married to the one that she wanted. And the funny thing was, they all seemed to eat out of her hand as well.
Queen.
Yeah, that's the thing. When you multi-date, your attitude changes and men will eat out of your hand. It is like magic.
Yeah, I mean, I aspire to be like her.
They still took her out on dates. They still, like, they didn't treat her any like less than a girlfriend. And I think she was like their only girlfriend, but she had 3 of them on the go who all knew about each other.
Oh, they all knew about each other. Nice.
So yeah, more power to you.
It's an alpha move there.
Yeah, they knew about each other.
Your aunt is an alpha bitch. I love that. I mean that in the most loving way.
So,
mad respect.
Base.
But I wanted to say one last thing about the idea that a lot of women seem to have, that you can get the same benefits from multi-dating by just acting as though you're multi-dating when you're not actually multi-dating. And I said earlier, you can't just will yourself to have a different perspective. And the main reason for that is because whether we like it or not, or whether we agree with it or not, in dating, whoever is the less interested party has the more power. And women enter the dating world already at a disadvantage, because women are socialized since we're very young to think that marriage and having kids and so on is the most important thing. So women are socialized to be more invested in relationships than men. And men are taught that relationships aren't that important for them, and that all they need to do is get laid. That's what we're socialized to believe. So because women are already at a disadvantage in the dating world, because we're told to be more invested, that gives us less power. The way to counteract that socialization is to essentially multi-date. That's the fix for that sort of part of our socialization, and will help you be less invested in these relationships and help you reclaim that power.
Good deal. All right, so that's our show. Please check out our Twitter at FemDetStrat, as well as our Patreon.com/The Female Dating Strategy, and submit your roast to Scrote and your Gnosis so we can read it on the air, as well as our website, thefemaledatingstrategy.com. Thanks for listening, queens. And for all you scrotes out there, get a fucking bed frame. Die mad. See you next week.
Bye, guys.